there now for Raphael Levy against Gabriel Nassif.
Bonjour et bienvenue à la virtual feature match area avec moi, Riley Knight.
What did you call me?
Aussi, c'est le Corey Baumeister. Hello, everyone. We've got two French Hall of Famers going up against each other. And this is going to be a cracker here, Corey. You and Tim have set the stage very nicely indeed. And both players, I mean, look at that. Look at that hand from Raphael Levy. 4 copies of Omen of the Sea and an Omen of the Forge as a kicker. Look at that.
Time to head to the seas, it looks like, for Raphael Levy. But honestly, that is completely fine. You know, that is the type of thing where you're completely okay with just casting a ton of omens, setting it up, because guess what, Riley? When you finally get that Yori and Sky Nomad, it's going to be bananas.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, these omens are one of the key support cards in the Orion list, and having so many of them here certainly. Oh, look, it's certainly not a bad thing to have. You do want to hit those land drops, but hey, the best way to hit those land drops is countering with stuff like Omen of the Sea. Problem is, I guess they're just air, and in the time that you take to cast, 4 of them, there's a chance that Gabe could potentially run away with things here. It looks like now here's an interesting question for everyone watching right now.
I know what you're going to say, and I'm loving it.
Is the stream frozen? Or
is Nassif thinking?
Or is Gabriel Nassif thinking? There is actually no way to tell. There's actually no way to know whether this is Gabriel Nassif hitting the tank as a regular sort of pattern of his play, or if the stream has frozen. It's going to be very interesting to find out here. I really am very curious to see what the way this resolves, because as I say, there's just no way to tell. There's just no way to tell.
It's turn 2. We got options. We could hold up Cling, or we could Soaring Thought Thief. So you really, really got to weigh your options here. That's for sure. Yes, okay, looks like we got a moving mouse here, so we're ready to go.
Okay. I don't know if it was it. We will never know. We'll never know whether it was someone hitting the tank, or whether it was.
And we poke fun at Nassif here and there, but he is a good buddy of both of ours. And honestly,
speak for yourself. Come on, don't start tarring me with that brush. Thank you very much.
Okay, of course. But you got to respect his results. Speak for himself. 14 top finishes. You can say he plays slow all you want, Mr. Riley Knight, but he can walk the walk and talks the talk. Just at his own pace.
Plays slow, wins slow, and no, there's no argument
and
with
cashes
his
results.
Checks
Fast.
He goes to the bank. He's like, right now, thank you very much.
Yes.
All right, Soaring Thought Thief going to enter the battlefield. For those of you who aren't familiar with these two players here, they are amongst the best in the world. Gabriel Nassif, often included in the conversation for one of the top 5 players of all time, with good reason with those results. But Raphael Levy, no slouches himself. This bloke is one of the veterans of the game. He's been around for about 100,000 years. Recently welcomed his second child into the world, so GG Raph, and certainly hope he and Monica are doing well, and their young family is firing on all cylinders. And Raph has a fair few extracurriculars as well. Corey, as I'm sure you're aware, he is a very accomplished martial artist. He was once named the French national champion of jiu-jitsu, and. He's he's got the mind of a fighter, the mentality of a fighter, both on and off the battlefield. Although, I don't know, he claims to be a jiu-jitsu master. I have beaten him in every single physical contest that we've had, which I don't know.
Another person just giving it to you, huh?
Wow. No. I've just been farming Raph for wins for a very long time.
So my question is, do you think in this, blue, white, red list where you could play Birth of Melitus, do you think Raphael Levy is not playing that because he already had enough birth this week with the birth of his second son?
No,
thank you. I'll be here for the rest of today, everyone.
Welcomed a young daughter into the world. And,
young daughter. I thought it was 2 sons. Okay, my bad.
I mean, mate, maybe are you better informed about this than me? Now I'm worried that I've said the wrong thing.
Well, I'm pretty sure Tim just said something, so that's what I thought, but I could be wrong.
We can agree that it's Tim's fault then.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah, we can agree that it's Tim's fault. That's going to be the safest way to do it. So Double Soaring Thought Thief here.
One thing that's pretty awkward here about Omen of the Forge we still have Glass Casket as well, but even against rogues, there is a large chunk of the creatures it doesn't hit, right? It's only the the Thieves Guild Enforcers. So it doesn't seem like Omen of the Forge is really directly for this matchup. So I'll be interested to see if that's a good card or if Raphael Levy sides that out. I just really don't know how to evaluate 2 damage as a spell against this rogue deck.
So another Omen of the Sea here. And this is a play that we're probably going to see a fair bit here. Oh no! And look at that bit of a look of frustration on Raph's face. We don't get to see the cards that he's scrying here, but
I think we can assume.
I think we can assume, yeah, that either it's maybe an awkwardly tapped land.
I bet it's a tap.
Or perhaps no lands at all. No, if it's no lands, you're just shipping both below decks, right?
Easy. I bet it's a temple here or a triumph. Yep. Yeah, triumph and the glass casket, which is
glass casket. And I think here Raph sort of kicking himself a little bit because he would have loved to go, play that glass casket this turn, or at least leave up the gate or something like that. But as it is, Cling to Dust coming out a little early, not going after the glimpse in hand there. I'm sure Raph won't be too unhappy to be able to guarantee some value off of the glimpse there.
Yeah, and there's a tough little dance that you have to play usually when it's Kling against Kling, kind of what we saw against Reed Duke and Huey Jensen. Mm-hmm. It was really Huey that went for maybe an aggressive Kling, but not that it was wrong or anything, but just proactively wanted to play it. And then Reed was just like, all right, nice. I got the Kling for your Kling. And now the value gets to kind of stay in Reed Duke's favor. But now with Glimpse and Kling, it's a little awkward as well, because if you go to Kling it with 3 mana open from Raphael Levy, could Glimpse in response and dodge that. So a nice little dance we'll see here between these two players.
Another land off the top here for Raph. I'm sure he's happy to see that. And I think we're going to see a glass casket here. His hand's looking actually pretty good now. It's developed nicely. Of course, hard not to when you're casting 4,000 copies of Omen of the Sea there. So you are going to find the cards you need. And here's that glass casket. And again, Nassif's sitting on a hand that looks a little bit more like a foot at this stage. So he'll, of course, going to have to let this casket resolve and stuck with a lone 2/3.
I want to point out something that Nassif did that is very, very smart, and people just don't want to do it often for whatever reason. It takes extra time. But if we notice in the bottom right-hand corner, when we start the next turn for Raphael Levy, Nassif is going to set a stop on the main phase, end step, and second main phase, just because it is essentially a bluff. If you don't, with the way that arena works, you give away that you have nothing, and good players recognize that. They've played enough on this client. Good players tried to maximize their value, maximize their knowledge, and in real life, you use it by getting a read on your opponent, right? Like maybe if they slouch in their chair, maybe they just drew badly. Online, there's actual tells you can gain if you do not set your stops right. You notice Nassif didn't have to set the stops now, and this just shows his awareness of the client, because he could activate Castle Vantress now, so it already does stops for you.
That's right. Castle Locksway there as a card advantage engine is going to prevent that. So you can see that he clicked those stops off there. But that, of course, any amount of information bleed, even if it's just like 1% or whatever, that's 1% over a lot of games. That adds up. No, that's smart stuff from Gabe there, who now finds an Into the Story quick stretch as he has to think about how and when he wants to cast his card. He's going to play out another pathway, his first pathway here on the blue side. And you just don't fire off this Into the Story into 6 open mana, I don't think.
I don't think you can. And we're starting to get to that magic number where we have 8 mana, where we could maybe Cling plus Into the Story. Nassif just has to think, how much mana are you going to use this turn? And, just Magic in general, mana efficiency is a very big part of the game. So using your mana every turn definitely just helps you win. But there's strategic amounts where you don't want to do that all the time. Let's say with a negate, to be able to deal with the powerful draw 4 cards, which could get Nassif back into the game. So we'll see if Raph tries to maximize or takes it a little bit more conservatively. Oh, but this is a nice one. If you glimpse, you shut down the Into the Story, the delayed cost at least. I think if we see a glimpse here, the option that Nassif will have is just 7 mana Into the Story, and I think he's going to be hyped to do that.
Because you can't respond to the casting by playing it for its lower cost, right? The cards have already been exiled from the... Oh, no, not enough cards have been exiled. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that
Nassif has got to be... a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, that would make me not want to cast that right now. If it didn't shut down the delayed cost, I think I would have been a little happier with just glimpsing or just playing that value omen. But, eventually you have to be tapping out for stuff. And Raphael Levy says this was the time.
So the glimpse indeed does this into the story, which gives Gabe's actually some good options. He's finally found more non-lands here. He's finally found
into
some actual stuff to cast.
Into the story put Gabe into the game, that's for sure.
Salundi Vision is a little card selection spell. Heartless Act for some interaction. And Cling to Dust, very useful against that opposing copy of Glimpse of Freedom here.
Absolutely. And the big advantage that Nassif and the other Channel Fireball folks decided to play was Shark Typhoon. And Shark Typhoon just looks excellent against this game one configuration for Raphael Levy. We see Glass Caskets and Shark Typhoons of his own to answer it. But, that's not perfect. And you don't have too many of those to rely on.
So it looks like we are having some connection issues here. We do apologize about that, of course. Bringing together all of these players from the far-flung corners of this beautiful flat earth that we live on means that we are going to run into difficulties here and there. So we do apologize, and thank you for your, of course, effortless understanding and patience. Twitch chat always nothing if not reasonable, patient, and considered, and we certainly do appreciate people being understanding here. Here's that Salundi Vision.
A nice little double face card.
And finding Drown in the Loch, which is obviously in the later stages of the game just a Doomblade counterspell split card, which is very strong.
Absolutely.
See what Gabe wants to do. Obviously he has to play something, even if it's just going to be a land, to avoid discarding. But from there, I don't know, like with a handful of instant speed cards, you don't really need to do anything here and now, right?
Yep. And right now, Nassif has to have Shark Typhoon on the radar here. You'd love to attack and just keep getting it in there. And right now, Nassif is just considering, is an attack worth it? With 2 Heartless Acts, you can take down these sharks pretty well. They notably are just giant sharks. They don't get, that many counters put on it. So we make a 5/5, but it's not 5/5 +1 counters on it. It is just a normal 5/5 that you can Heartless Act. So Nassif is pretty ready to answer this. So I like that attack.
In comes the 2/3. And something that has surprised me a little bit with the texture of this matchup here is something that we're kind of seeing now with this Glimpse of Freedom. The Rogue Sticks were really good. Just really good at milling, like way better than I thought it would be on the face of it, right? Like,
agreed.
We're in a format where like 80 card decks are, I'm not saying the norm, but they're everywhere, and mill decks are still succeeding. And I guess that's the good thing about playing escape cards is you always got fuel for the fire, but it takes a lot to actually manage that graveyard. I've been a little surprised by just how good Rogues decks are at filling up the yard.
Yeah, I mean, even that Kafartek Li Xiqian match last round, I was shocked by the ending of that. Just those little razor thin margins that Cedric and Marshall were talking about has never been more true than in the MPL. You just saw a little tiny mistake from Kafartek, and he knew it the second he did it, really visibly, putting it out there. And God, and then he just got milled for like 30 cards that turn. It was insane.
Shark Typhoon here. X equals 2, so going to make a little flyer.
Little elementary school shark.
Yes. And Nassif, once again, unhurried in responding to this. I wonder how many times these two have played against each other, actually.
Oh, I'd be curious.
I'd be
curious.
Well, okay, let's see if we can let's see if we can figure this out. How many? I wonder what their record is head to head over the years in like high level Magic.
Yes, they've been playing since 94 and 95. I was, 3 and 4 respectively.
Yeah,
At the
I
time.
was still learning how to like add and subtract. So
Well, that doesn't really narrow it down. You're still kind of at that stage, right?
all right, mate. I mean, I left myself wide open for that one, but
Yeah,
all right,
sorry.
mate. Come
Sorry.
on.
I mean, you give it out with the best of them. You got to be able to
Gotta be able
take
to
it
take
during
it
their
as well. That's
yeah.
true. Oh my goodness. Oh my
What have you
goodness.
discovered?
I have looked up. So I've looked up Raphael Levy and Gabriel Nassif head to head, right?
Okay.
Since 2003.
Okay.
They have played 9 matches, right? Going back as far as Grand Prix Prague in 2003. They've played 9 matches against each other.
Okay.
And their record is 1-4-4 in favor of Nassif.
4 draws?
4 draws between these two.
The modern day and age of digital events is going to favor these two quite well.
1,
That's glorious.
4-4. So Raf has just been rumpa-dumped pretty consistently by Gabriel Nassif. But I like that Nassif has won as many games against Raf, or matches I should say, as they have drawn. Which
I want to know how many of those were intentional draws or just non-intentionals, because it'd be a lot funnier if it was just 4 unintentional draws.
Oh, dearie me.
That's I'm glad you uncovered that stat. Thank you for that. Tonight.
Let's just look up. Hang on one second. Can you just entertain the Twitch chat? I'm just going to look up one.
I sure can. So
nice.
big old shark
Raphael
here.
Levy. Oh, interesting. I've just looked up me and Raf head to head. Undefeated. Riley Knight, undefeated. Let me just check. Hang on a second. Nassif, Riley Knight. Wow, undefeated against Nassif as well. Yeah, I haven't lost to either of these two.
Wow, I'm sure. Which site are you checking out?
Anyway, sorry, we don't have time to check every nook and cranny here. We do have a match of Magic to cover. Just a little tip for you, Corey. It's important not to get too distracted while covering games of Magic. Talk about sort of irrelevant stuff that doesn't really matter or has no bearing on the game in front of us. Very important to stay focused here, mate.
Of course. That is the big thing I've learned from you over the years, is staying 100% focused.
Heartless Act on the 2-2 clears the way for these Flyers to get in. That's 6 damage coming across. Are we going to see the Soaring Thought Thief get juiced up to a 2-2 just yet? Yes, we are. There you go. Back up to 8 cards here.
And I mean, we could we can only cast the front half of Glimpse here. And this Omen of the Forge that I was really questioning if it was going to be good or not, looking quite bad. And the main deck ECDs, not great as well. And these counters, or these Essence Scatters, would have been good a little earlier for that Soaring Thought Thief. But after they got on the battlefield, Raph is really struggling to be able to neutralize here. This Yorion may have a chance to help, but we got double Drown in the lock here, and it's going to be a pretty tough one. Unless we can mill enough cards to make Drown not good, which easily could be true here. Yeah, we just saw the tag. So that is exiling 5. That goes down to 4. Well, that's one of the cards. So yeah, it goes down to 4, right?
All right. Let's see.
So that is perfect. But is it enough?
Oh, let's find out here. See, once again, Nassif certainly taking his time over this one. And here's the Drown in the lock.
It's not going to be enough, I don't think.
No, because it's 8, right? It's exactly 8, I think.
It was 9. So
it was 9. Excuse me.
It is going to be enough to make this Drown in the lock work, but that isn't enough to save the game here. If we had that Omen of the Sun in play, sure. Glass Casket can give back a Soaring Thought Thief and take that big old shark, but that's still two power creatures. Oh, I guess if we can get back up 4, 5, 6, 7, exactly. The 2 Soaring Thought Thieves both trigger each other. There's 4 cards in the graveyard, and then that'll get to 8. They'll both be 2 power creatures. So this should be Nassif.
A card makes, huh? What difference the card makes? Wow.
Kidding.
Yeah, be a completely different game if it. With no Omen of the Sun, Omen of the Forge obviously can't go after these creatures. We're going to see a bunch of stuff. Blinked out here, but no, I don't think it's going to be enough, is it?
And on top of all that, we have Heartless Act to just clean up Yorian as
Yeah,
well. So we're well and far away in favor of Mr. Nassif here.
Yep. Gabriel Nassif going for the big 1-5-4 here with a game 1 win against Raphael Levy. And you can see Levy there poised there, ready probably to hit that concede button because he knows that he's sort of walking on a knife's edge here. And all that it is going to take is for Gabe to attack and seal the deal then and there. Yeah, these Omens of the Sea really just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic at this point. Because
the shoe's really on the other foot here, that's for sure.
Certainly, that's really it. Yep. So it looks like Raph is probably going to go down in this situation here. Packs it up, and as a result, now we go to game number 2. Little shake of the head for Raphael Levy. I don't think he was quite too pleased, obviously, with the result there.
I mean, if we looked at hands when it was like turn 6, Nassif had 6 lands in play, 1 Soaring Thought Thief, a Cling in the graveyard that was unable to be cast, and 3 lands in hand. That didn't look good. And once again, I feel like we've said this multiple times, and I don't want to say that Levy's play was a mistake, but in hindsight, if he would have left open that negate instead of flashing that glimpse and to be able to counter that into the story, we've seen it time and time again what we've been casting this weekend, Riley, that when that card resolves, it is just so brutal. 4 cards with this Dimir list is just, it's so good. 4 cards is just unreal to draw.
Yeah, and that is sort of it's interesting going back and examining that, especially in longer games where, you know, you've got situations where, for example, a game that is won on turn 15, turn 20 even, right, can be traced back to a decision that was made on turn 5, you know, and that was the point at which the game sort of veered down a certain path that led to that point, and had that point gone differently, then the entire game would have gone differently with it. So little kind of sliding doors moment there for Levy, not keeping up that negate and opening the window there for Nassif to fire off that draw 4. Anyway, that was game number 1. We move on now to game number 2. You're watching MPL League play. I guess I shouldn't say MPL League play. It's MPL play. Magic. It's like people who say ATM machine.
Yeah.
That really rustles my jimmies.
Because it is already.
The Magic Pro League play. I guess it works, actually. It works. Whatever it is, you're watching the Magic the Gathering. You're watching Magic the Gathering.
You're watching good players play in a league. How about that?
It's me, Riley Knight. And it's him, Corey Belmeister. And it's great to have your company as well. Thanks for hanging out with us this weekend. It's been fun to get across Rivals yesterday. And, of course, been brilliant to have this all these matches today between good mates, you know, people who are connected by more than just the game, but also by the bonds of friendship. You know, we've seen people such as last round, we saw Reed Duke and Huey Jensen. Raph and Gabe here, the preeminent, the number 1 and number 2 favorite French Hall of Famers of people around the world. And here they are getting ready, saddling up for game number 2. Raph's going to go first, of course, after having picked up a loss. Looks like a rock-solid hand here for him. And Gabe also happy with his opener. So we're off to the races. Off we go.
And you got to think like, wow, it's so crazy and lucky that these good friends are playing against each other at the highest level. That's no mistake. You know, people that are this good, they gravitate towards each other to practice, to get ideas from each other. And they're both just hungry to learn constantly. And that is just the best way to make yourself better, is at the end of a tournament, talking it out with your friend and being like, yeah, maybe I should have did this. Or one thing I wanted to point out about what you said during sideboarding, these 15 turn games where anything could have happened. It could have been decided on turn 3 by playing a temple instead of playing a pathway. The great players like Nassif, I know Andre Strosky does this a lot. They go back on these matches where even if they win them, even if they lose them, and they think maybe I could have done something better, they go back and watch their matches. I think that is one of the best skills that you can have in Magic, along with another skill that Nassif possesses, and that's always questioning if you could have done something better. The willingness to always improve, I think, is one of the hardest things that you can learn about in Magic, instead of just saying, I lost this round because I got unlucky or whatever.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there, because I think the better way to do is when you lose, just blame your opponent for being lucky and decide there was nothing you could do about it. Never improve, never learn from your mistakes. Can I tell you what, Corey? It's much easier doing it like that. Speaking from personal experience, much easier way to live your life.
That does sound a lot more relaxing. You get to relax and like have dinner or something instead of rewatching your matchups. I hadn't considered that. That's nice. Yeah.
Much better. Absolutely. So I can heartily
Don't
commend.
Listen to him, Chad. Don't listen to him.
Well. Hardly recommend that way of living your life. Just on easy mode, mate. Never learn from your mistakes. The Riley Knight story. Charming Prince now getting ready to rumble. Plenty of answers for this Soaring Thought Thief. We've got that Scorching Dragonfire in hand. How worried here is Gabriel about the interaction that Raph is going to bring in post board? Because, stuff like Scorching Dragonfire does become a lot more important when you're playing against stuff like Soaring Thought Thief. And, of course, the smaller, cards like Ruin Crab in certain matchups. And here we're seeing the Scorchy D go after the Soaring Thought Thief.
Yeah, and oh my, just as you say, the cards that we're interested on bringing in, I'm just looking at Raphael Levy's sideboard now, and we go up to 4 Glimpse of Freedoms, 4 Mystical Disputes.
Wow.
That is insane. When you got a plan that you think is going to work against them, that's it. I am super shocked that Omen of the Forge is still in the deck when you have that much stuff to bring in. Because it doesn't look good. It didn't look good last game, and it doesn't look great now. Maybe I'm missing something a little bit on how effective that card is. And maybe what it's really there for is to just increase your clock, right? Like these blue-white decks struggle with just presenting lethal. And if you're getting 2 damage in every time you Yorion, that adds up, but it doesn't seem great to me.
What I'm looking at here is the cards that come out. And I see immediately Giant Killer straight out of here. Elspeth Conquers Death, 4 copies straight in the sideboard, right?
Baron's
you want to bring in Scorching Dragonfire. You want to bring in Mystical Dispute. That's 7 cards, and you're already taking out 5. Maybe you can find some other ones. Maybe stuff like Baron. I think Illyrios not super great in this match. I guess Baron's fine. But it may just be a situation where, you just want an Omen of the Forge instead of something that is stone cold useless like an ECD, something like a Giant Killer.
Omen of the Sun is pretty bad as well. And that is the one big struggle with 80 card decks is you only have 15 cards to bring in, but you have 20 extra cards in your main deck. So that leads to a lot of problems in sideboarding where you just don't have enough cards to take out sometimes. So you really want to have cards in your deck like Omen of the Sun, like Omen of the Forge that are just okay against everything. It's not ideal when you draw too many of them, but it is something that can stay in your deck and have some text at least.
I'm actually, the more I think about this 4 copies of Glimpse of Freedom in the 75, the more it makes sense. The thing is, Raph's on already the next level, right? Like he main deck Glimpse of Freedom. He knows that it's going to be a good card in a lot of matchups, particularly in Rogues. And going to the full 4 shows he's got a hearty respect for the Dimir Rogues list. And Dimir Rogues has already responded to the preponderance of Glimpse of Freedom with Cling to Dust, right?
Yep.
So you just want to overload their clings, right? And the less they can cling, right, reliably, the less stuff that can be reliably clung, the better time you're going to have managing your own graveyard. I like it. I think, and the thing is, at very worst, Glimpse of Freedom, it cycles for 2, and there's a very high floor on how bad a card that cycles for 2 can be.
Totally agree with you there. And just as you say that, look at that fight just over 1 glimpse.
Something
of 4.
So seemingly inconsequential, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And, the fight was won by Nassif. We do not have a glimpse right now. And Raphael Levy just has to kind of do stuff on a 1-for-1 basis. Now, granted, Nassif is not doing much milling right now. Nassif's hand does look a little mopey at the moment. But, that doesn't mean that we're not going to draw into it.
Nassif's hand hasn't improved too much. Still got a premium piece of interaction in Drown of the Loch, but no threats on the board. And this is what Gabe is missing right now. He needs a way to actually pressure Raph. Raph is the one who has got the Yorion, who's got the Omen to get some value. I mean, even if Omen of the Forge, like it just deals 2, sure, but scrying 2 off of it, maybe. I don't know. That's better than the ham sandwich that is Gabe's hand at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was pretty interested to not see Omen of the Forge plus Yorion this turn, just because of the graveyard count from Raphael Levy. Just knows that, Drown in the Law is just not going to counter it, but there is still so many other counters that respecting Mystical Dispute, I think, was the main thing that Raphael was doing there. When you have 7 mana, you might as well wait till 8 to be able to cast Yorion with a little bit of backup here. Or just playing it really defensively here, just saying, hey, deal with that Charming Prince first. I dare you.
This is much better here. Much better. A Shark Typhoon off the top's a real nice one. plays around all the counter magic that you can eat, of course, and puts a respectable threat on the board. One that at this stage is going to handily outsize a potential Yorion as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we can make it a 5/5 right now. And Omen of the Forge, let me do my quick math. 5 minus 2. Yeah, no, it doesn't kill a 5/5. Yep.
Hang on, are you sure about that?
Yeah, let me carry the 3 divided by No, my mathematicians are confirming it does not kill a 5/5.
Can't sharpen the pencil on that one at all?
No.
Wow. All right. Well, here's the 5/5. Unkillable, according to Corey. Unkillable. There's no card in Magic that will remove this 5/5. Corey Baumeister said that.
Quote me.
Yeah, absolutely.
At me all you want.
Here it comes into 5 now. Raph obviously did give some thought to playing the Omen of the Forge, but he must have done some quick maths as well and realized, nope, it doesn't kill the 5. Well, let's see where this goes. Let's see if he thinks it will.
Oh, okay.
No, he really is very good, isn't he? He really is very good. Wow. Yes, no, Raphael Levy, very good. Not casting the Omen of the Forge, targeting the shark there. Wow.
Determined to get to 2, 4, and 4 for sure.
So Charming Prince takes Gabe down to 4, and yeah, this Omen of the Sea or Omen of the Forge is actually. I mean, we're kind of having a bit of a goof, bit of a spoof about the fact that it can't take out the 5/5. You know what it can help to take out is Gabe's life total. He's now on 2.
Exactly right now. And we have the scatter here, which is really the only way to counter that. Dispute wouldn't do it. And let's see how many scatters we have. I know we didn't have a ton. Yeah, only 2. So I like jamming it here and just hoping. But, I mean, do we want to use double dispute here? Probably not.
All right, okay. So Yorion bites the dust, and Gabe is going to get the chance to cycle away this Zagoth Throne. Of course, no green in the deck. The Throne's just being played as a cycle duel. Ooh, that's a good one.
And importantly, that was the 6 card in the yard. So Kling is online again, which could represent 3 more life if need be, or just another card. So some extra options for the French Hall of Famer.
Which one? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I got to narrow it down. Or Nassif. Yeah, they're both just such amazing Magic players that have been involved in this game since, well, I was in preschool.
Yep. So 5/5 still ruling the skies, but the Charming Prince is enough of a threat now with Gabe at just 4 that it's going to stay at home here.
Yeah, you don't want to just die to an Omen of the Forge that you can't really profitably counter too well. Drawing the Lock would get it done, but you don't want to put yourself vulnerable to that for no reason. Right now, Nassif is in the driver's seat. Raphael Levy really, really struggled by getting that glimpse eaten by Kling. This is another card.
It'd be a completely different game, right? Like you're drawing really 2-3 cards a turn, yeah.
And it just shows the amazing play of both of these to be able to know when to fight over something that seems, not so great.
This is one of the first times I've seen Into the Loch cast for full retail 7 mana here, and it's not going to work out super well here because Raph has come packing the double dispute. And Mystical Dispute is a card that the utility of this card, it falls off enormously in the late game when both players have 10 lands in play. But Raph's actually going to get good value and snag 2 cards with his 2 copies of Mystical Dispute, so he'll be happy about that.
Yeah, you see Nassif give a little shake of the head, be like, really? Those are the 2 cards you have? But hey, it's better than 2 Shark Typhoons, that's for sure. That was a big one.
Ooh, that's a good one here. Yes, that really is. And this probably opens up the attack here for Gabe. And that sends a message to Raph. He'll be reading that and saying, well, you didn't attack last turn, you did attack this turn. So something has changed, whether it's a removal spell, Shark Typhoon, maybe it's just that Cling to Dust to gain some life, whatever it is. Gabe now adopting a much more aggressive posture. And we see Omen of the Forge sacrificed to scry 2. Oh, and look at that. A little hint of regret on Raph's face. He doesn't like the cards that he can see there. One of them is a Raugrin Triome. We're unsure of the other one.
Yorion for the other one, maybe, where comboing Charming Prince, Omen of the Forge, and Yorion together gets to be quite nasty. But one thing about this attack, when I'm standing across from this, knowing my opponent's playing 4 sharks, it's like almost 100% that that it's just another shark to block, and it just feels so bad because you attack, they have it. You don't attack, you're probably wrong. They didn't have it. It feels like either way, what you do, you're going to be in trouble. And right now, Nassif fed the trap, and here it is.
Yep, we're going to see another 5/5 shark here, leaving up 2 mana for a potential Essence Scatter or something like that.
And that's game. That's game.
And the Charming Prince is blocked. Raphael offers the GG, and after quite a stunning turnaround there, Gabe was able to win that one. 2 games to zip, unfortunately, for Raphael Levy. You'll notice that he has done pretty well for himself with 5 wins, but this is a loss that he has unfortunately picked up. Gabe also moves to 5 wins. So despite that loss there for Rav, he's certainly flying high, and Gabe also in a very, very good position when it comes to how this league play has treated them. So well done to both players. Certainly really a great job all around.
Yeah, 5-4 right now, still an amazing record. You know, anything above that 50% threshold that Tim was saying earlier against these grade of players, you got to be stoked about. Even a 50-50 record, you got to be really, really happy. So still, both players doing great.
Yes, indeed. And we'll keep a close eye on how things develop as the weekend unfolds. Already, there's been some important data points. We've already learned some important lessons as to, what the shape of Standard is to take. I mean, we've seen Standard develop and kind of settle very swiftly. But, I mean, my personal anticipation here, Corey, is that we are in for a wild and bumpy ride. I think we're going to see a multitude of decks rise and fall like the tide. I think we'll see Rogues one week, Yorion another week. We may see the return of Embercleave decks after the very good results that Gruul has put up so far. And I'm interested to know, Corey, like, what is the deck that you have your eye on as we head in towards into next week as Standard continues to develop?
Into next week, I have been a big fan of Esper Doom for quite a while, and I still feel like that deck is pretty well positioned against the Yorion decks, against Rogues, and not so great against Gruul. So if that becomes a big thing, I think we can shift away. But the one thing I want to point out that you said is being able to have a Standard metagame that shifts constantly. That's what Standard has usually been all about, and that's what I love. Trying to metagame for each tournament, try to beat the last week's deck. That's like my favorite thing. When a deck becomes so powerful that you can't really metagame against it, that becomes a little less fun. So I think we're just in such a great spot, whatever the best deck is going to be next week.
Absolutely. It certainly is true. I suppose the only downside is that we don't really have too much to complain about, but I'm sure we'll find something.
We'll find something.
I'm sure we'll find something. That's right. All right, we're going to go to a break right now. There's more magic coming your way on the other side of it. So stick around, everyone. We'll be back with more MPL play after this.
Hello and welcome back, my friends. Tim Willoughby here, introducing what is likely to be a slightly quicker match than the one we saw from Gabriel Nassif, though realistically, one option would be to say that almost every match falls into that category. But in this case, we have some decks that really have the potential to be pretty explosive in their two different ways. The matchup, we've got Martin User, Hall of Famer, up against a fellow English player, Autumn Burchette, and we're going to get a chance to see it's going to be Gruul Adventures up against Dimir Ramp. It feels like all of a sudden we're back to the end of the Worlds 2020, but here we have Martin User on Gruul Adventures. This is a list that I know you, Corey, have been pretty high on in terms of where it sits in this format.
I have been, and this one's a little bit different than what, let's say, Brad Nelson and company played. Just basically, Robber of the Rich was something that has been kind of the card that people are not really sure on. That and Rimrock Knight, Juza deciding that these cards are good enough, but this deck really punishes slow Yorion decks, just Ember Cleaving over the top of them, punishing them for, let's say, John Emmanuel Dupraz build, which is much more counter spells. Gruul just doesn't care about that, goes over the top. And even the decks that just play to the battlefield, you can't do too much interacting with Embercleave there. So a really smart choice for the event. And Gruul, as well as the next deck we're about to look at, have been one of the best finishing decks in the Rivals and MPL splits so far, with a great win percentage.
I mean, if you're talking win percentages, Autumn Burchette right up there for this event, currently sat at 6-2 is the record I believe we have going into this round 9. And it feels like a strange role reversal. Autumn was on Gruul at the grand finals for the last season, has here moved across to Dimir Ramp. Now that all of a sudden Omnath not a fixture, but look at that Terror of the Peaks. There can be some incredibly explosive plays thanks to that one.
Yeah, we saw this deck list in the hands of Emma Handy and Jessica Estefan yesterday, and both of them were just dominating, especially Jess. I know she was at least 5-0 going into that last round, 5-0, 10-0 even. So we know this deck is very powerful. We know the over-the-top effects that it can have, and this is going to be a blink and you miss it match because these decks are both trying to do something very fast, very proactive. I'm really excited to check this one out.
Well, do not blink because that's the matchup we've got set up right now. We're going to head down to our virtual feature match area. It's going to be Riley Knight. It's going to be Corey Baumeister bringing you Martin User and Autumn Burchette. The matchup is Gruul Adventures and Dimir Ramp.
Salutations, fellow nerds. Welcome to our virtual feature match area. Once again, Riley Knight and Corey Baumeister here to get across a match between Martin User and Autumn Burchette. Martin started off very well yesterday, is my understanding, and has kind of tailed a little bit. You can see just 4 wins here for the Czech.
Was 4-0, right?
I think started off 4-0 and then picked up a loss or two here, unfortunately. And
still
unsurprising,
both very good records.
Unsurprising for Autumn Burchette to be on 6 wins. Certainly a wonderful record here for a very talented player. And I'm very excited to see some Team Ultimatum action once again with Terror of the Peaks.
Me too. And yes, 6 wins has got to put you in basically that top 4, top 5 position here, which is just excellent. Anything even above that 50% rate, and even slightly above like Juza here at 4 and 5, still great records because, as we know, the MPL are just full of the best players in the world.
Yes, indeed. Decent opener here for Autumn, although no untapped land. I think they'll be hoping to draw away to get that turn to Cobra online.
Oh, yeah. Cobra, not as good in this matchup as, let's say, against the Yorion decks that don't have that great way to remove them. But Bone Crusher Giant, as we saw before Omnath and Escape the Wilds got banned, Bone Crusher Giants were just everywhere, right? To just kill Cobra because that card was so much better with Escape the Wild and stuff, but still very good with Cultivate and Beanstalk Giant on turn 3 as well.
Starting things off with the Ketratron, very nice. The only real issue that this deck has with its mana is the triple blue for Ultimatum. Given that there aren't too many other blue cards, you can see Glasspaw Mimic there in hand. No untapped land for the Lotus Cobra, but a couple of Ketratromes means that you don't have to be particularly judicious with your cultivates, with your fertile footsteps. It's going to get whatever because your mana is usually going to work itself out quite nicely from that point.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing is the Temur colors do have pretty good fixing. Like whenever you have a triome in your guild here, that is huge and opens up the deck restraints so much in those color combinations. You look at some of the other color combinations like Esper. Gets a lot tougher when you don't have a triome.
So here is the Cobra.
And no Bone Crusher Giant on the other side, which is definitely going to be important.
So you're off to something of an aggressive start. Robber of the Rich, certainly a very welcome card that starts like this. But Autumn here can kind of put the brakes on a little bit. The Cobra's a tempting play. What's the line here?
It's tough. It's tough. And I'm definitely going to defer on Autumn here. The two choices, play Cobra, set that up for an insane turn next turn, or play Cultivate. But the one thing that really risks is your one untapped land. Cultivate will give you another untapped land, so I guess that kind of mitigates that. But basically, if you think your opponent does not have a good way to interact, or you think they want to really play something on 3, which the Gruul Adventures deck is chock full of good 3-drops, Mammoth, Lovestruck Beast, what have you, then you really want to make their best turn as tough as possible. You think, okay, do I want to just kill this Cobra, or do I want to play one of my very good threats? And that is the decision that Juza is going to be put to here, and values killing the Cobra as high as I think you have to, because that card is so good.
I mean, one of the oldest axioms of Magic is bolt the bird, and I think it's developed in 2020 to become stomp the snake. You do have to kill Lotus Cobra at the earliest available opportunity here. So, Autumn now with the chance to play a 3-drop, whether it's going to be Cultivate or Fertile Footsteps. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Cultivate fired off here. Fertile Footsteps also fine. The observation I made about these 3-drops in the ultimatum list yesterday, I'll make it again here. Cultivate, Beanstalk Giant, and Elvish Visionary, they all do a very similar thing. They all give you an extra mana, and they all replace themselves. Yes. Cultivate gives you an extra basic land. Beanstalk Giant gives you a 7/7. And, of course, Llanowar Visionary gives you an extra card off the top. So it's part of the value game of this Temur deck, the fact that when it ramps on turn 3, it's not giving up resources.
Totally agree. Back in my day, we cast Farseek, and we got the 1 land, and we were happy about it.
I mean, Farseek's probably a lot better than those 3 cards, in fairness.
On 2, that is a lot better than on 3.
It is a lot better, yeah.
All right, Riley.
You're over here complaining about like what was the Nissa card that went and got a land and got 2 if you had Spell Mastery?
Oh,
and we liked it.
Yeah, and we liked it.
And we liked it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Eugene off the top. That's a big pickup for Autumn.
Not too bad here. Terror of the Peaks, also a powerful option, given that there is also Glasspool Mimic in hand. Double Terror ends games very, very quickly.
Yeah, and the choices that we have now is play Terror of the Peak, one of the best cards against Gruul. There is not many good ways to deal with it. There's like Primal Might, Ram Through, and stuff like that, but none of those are in Juza's list. Juza is trying to be a lot more aggressive, so Autumn's going to recognize that card is really, really tough to kill. And Autumn is facing a lot of damage, but here's the problem. If you Terror, then you don't set up Ugin next turn. And I think that is just much more important. 6, 7. Yeah, because we haven't played a land this turn. Yeah, so we're hoping to not die to an Embercleave, and then Ugin just should really reshape this game. We'll see how this develops.
So Martin, already with a reasonably nice looking board here. But that Ugin is threatening, of course, to completely obliterate it. It's funny how Ugin has settled into actually being a decent top end. I mean, it's a very powerful card, but there was a point at which it felt a little too oppressive, whereas now it sort of feels like it's in a decent spot as a robust answer to the format. Now look at this. Here's a big attack. Is this? Oh, geez, it's Xaxis. That caught me out of nowhere. That is so hard.
I was just saying, normally what you want to do from the Gruul side is save those haste threats till after Ugin. But if I could just count, I would have known that was...
No, but I mean, the thing is numbers. I mean, even now, the most advanced mathematologists wouldn't have been able to predict that. You know, you have all these creatures. There's a 1/1, a 2/2, a 5/5, and a 1/1, and you've got +2/+0 in hand. There's actually just no way to know whether that is lethal or not until you have cast it and you just hope it's enough, right? There's actually no other way.
That's how Magic works, exactly. I'm still on the Omen of the Forge killing a 5/5 shark numbers. I just got done with that numbers table, so yeah, I'm glad we caught up to that.
Yeah. So Martin used it there. Wow, so lucky. Managed to stitch together lethal somehow. Very, very fortunate. Now, Autumn absolutely whizzing through the sideboarding there. Martin being a little more, taking a little more time, but ultimately locking it in. And you have to think that, like, the fact that Martin was able to push so much damage through so quickly came as a bit of a surprise, right? Like this deck is definitely very aggressive. You know, it has those hasty threats you were talking about.
Yeah.
But it is not, as we've already talked about today, Corey, it's not the most aggressive deck that we've ever seen. You know, it's no like Mono Red Hazoret, for example. It doesn't hit as fast. It maybe it hits very hard, but it doesn't necessarily hit as fast most of the time.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And I'm looking here as well. And am I seeing this right, that there is the Great Henge anywhere? That really surprises me, because Juza and Brad tested together, and Brad went on the side of having that very powerful Henge and not having as many Robber of the Rich. Great Henge, not good here. But just surprised, just because I think that card is one of, if not the, I wouldn't say the best card, but it's top 5 cards in Standard right now, just with the amount of snowbally effects that it has. So kind of shocked to not see any copies there.
Yeah, it's one of those cards that if you get the breathing room to resolve and make use of it, it really is very difficult to keep up with, both on, gaining live front, gaining card advantage, and also just playing to the board. It just does it all. You know, it has all of the power of green mana taken to its limit, really.
Yeah. Both of them kind of realizing that the other one could have Stomp, and Juza could have played a Heart's Desire to play a 1/1, but figured that it was probably going to get stomped, decides not to do it, and leave up a Stomp of his own.
And Autumn here now with a Triome, as we see Stomp fired off by User at the Domeski. Obviously, if they don't cast the Cobra on turn 2, it becomes much less of a potent target for the Stomp, and on top of that, the second one in hand. But here, Autumn may be setting up the next turn to be a ramp turn with that Beanstalk Giant Fertile Footsteps, rather than committing to a ramp play this turn. And that, of course, leaves up Scorching Dragonfire, leaves up the Stomp. So if that's the line that they're taking, that makes a lot of sense. But who knows? They may have a different line in mind.
I think if Autumn would have top decked a untapped land there, you're pretty incentivized to ramp and then play one of your 5 drops. But I like the no ramp here to not leave yourself vulnerable if you don't top deck that 5th land. Then your next turn is kind of awkward. So that is a great sequencing there.
So another pathway, here's this untapped land, and this was the one that Autumn decided not to play last turn. So let's see exactly where this turn leads us, because, of course, this Fertile Footsteps puts a land into play untapped, meaning that both Scorching Dragonfire and Stomp are live, or sorry, either or, not both. And this goes to show the level of foresight, right? Like Autumn is already planning out all these subsequent turns, and this might be, pretty elementary stuff for players of this level, and I'm sure many of the enormous brains that are watching today as well. But newer players are going to look at that and go, well, hang on, it was turn 3. Why don't you just cast the 3-drop? And it's because of this, right? Because you can sequence your next turn in a way that's going to be even more profitable. Now, unfortunately, it's not going to work out here, because Questing Beast is a 4/4, can come across immediately and is immune to both of the Scorching Dragonfire and the Stomp here. But still, it goes to show that Autumn is very carefully laying out a foundation of planning these turns.
Totally agree. And sequencing from both of these decks is so very important.
So there is our Terror of the Peaks coming down for Autumn, and this is certainly going to dominate the battlefield, especially in conjunction with that Elder Gargaroth that's in hand for Autumn. So now Martin needs to respond. Now Martin needs to figure out what his plan is to beat this Terror of the Peaks. Questing Beast can go up against quite nicely, or do you just 2-for-1 yourself and take 6 damage in order to kill the dragon? I mean, there are options here for Martin.
Yeah, and the thing is, taking 6 damage as the Gruul player, not as bad. Taking 6 damage as the ramp player, that's a little rough. But, of course, Terror of the Peak's not in Juza's deck. But Terror of the Peak is just so scary that there's no way Autumn is going to block that Questing Beast, because you get to kill it for free with any creature that you could cast. So, I think I like that play by Juza. It's brutal to have to take that much damage and get 2-for-1 naturally. but just kind of the thing you have to do.
Yeah, 2 for 1 and 6 life as well is pretty ferocious. But I mean, that just goes to show how much of a threat the dragon is out of Autumn's list, particularly in creature-based matchups. Now, the dragon can act as a finisher with Genesis Ultimatum in addition to other creatures. It can often just deal 20 straight to the dome, especially in multiples. But on a situation like this where you're playing a little more of a mid-range type game where you haven't quite ramped all the way up to 7 or 8 mana, when you're curving Terra into Elder Gargaroth, you're interested in managing the board. And Martin cannot keep pace with that.
And one of the biggest things, Riley, is against certain color pies. Green-red cannot really kill it very easily.
Right.
Dimir has Heartless Act. Yorion decks have ECDs. So against them, the Terror of the Peak is kind of easily removed with one card. Against the green-red decks, you gotta aim 2 things at it, which is just a net negative to try to kill it, as we just saw what Juza had to do last turn. But now we got another huge threat.
Well, and this is the thing, right? Like, this is why Autumn's just happy to sit there and be like, right, okay, you beat my 5/4. Here's a 6/6. Can you beat this as well? Now, let's remind ourselves, Questing Beast has Death Touch. It can attack into this Elder Gargaroth with Vigilance and probably bait out a trade here, because it is a profitable trade for Autumn, given that there will be the Gargaroth trigger, right?
I love the snap block. Autumn knows what Juza could have, and that's Embercleave. Embercleave is exactly 10. Autumn knows I cannot risk just being dead to that when I have a good position right here. So snap block, doesn't have to question it. Love it.
The problem is with Embercleave play here for Autumn, that is the incredible potency of first strike. of Death Touch plus
and
first strike.
Yeah.
Plus trample.
But that's only 9. That's only 9.
and this is another reason that you see that block just straight away snapped off. And another reason here that Autumn is considering the 3 life, so they don't just immediately fall to 1 in the face of a cleave. Now, obviously, we know that Martin doesn't have the cleave, but this is why Autumn is giving this decision pause here.
Which Autumn is going to be hyped about, to not see a Embercleave here. That just means bang, still at 13. Now, have an Ugin.
I do think that Martin did miss an opportunity there by not tapping all of his lands and then untapping them immediately. I do think that was a bit of a missed opportunity there, and a rare misstep for a player of Martin's caliber.
Very important play.
That would have been pretty good gear. That would have been pretty good gear. All right.
The old juke. I think if anybody does that to me online, I just automatically go for it. Like, if they're like tapping mana to like represent something, so that should make me not attack or not swing for lethal, that just means I'm going to do it every single time, because I'm like, I do not believe you.
Yeah, I'm not falling for this jape, sir. I'm not falling for your jest. No. Here's a Cultivate now after we've already seen a Lotus Cobra played, and that means there's not been a land played, so that actually means that Scorching Dragonfire is live here, or indeed a Stomp, and you've got to answer that Edgewall Innkeeper.
Yeah, or even just playing Bone Crusher if you feel so necessary. I would just imagine I don't know. I mean, maybe you want to kill Innkeeper here. Yeah.
I think so. I think you just got to get it off the battlefield. I think this is absolutely the right play.
So good. Oof, big pickup.
All right, let's see what's next now. Another Questing Beast. Geez, imagine if Martin had that the turn before. Imagine playing 2 Questing Beasts, attacking for 8. Oh man, that would have been so good.
That's why you're undefeated against Juza, huh? With expert analysis, playing 2 legendary creatures, huh?
Well, I see no one ever plays the second Questing Beast. Like, even if they got the second one in hand and they can attack for double, they don't do it. I mean, imagine that you put multiple copies of this card in your deck because you want to draw it, right? And people aren't casting. I don't understand what's going on.
God, that was just such an insane draw from Juza.
Look at this. Yeah, absolutely. The Brushfire Elemental in as an unblockable 3/3. The Questing Beast is an unblockable 4/4, forcing a chump block now.
Time to knock the top of the deck.
5/5.
Oh, land for Ugin. Oh,
bam!
Got it.
Bam! There it is. And now Ugin can come down and completely unpick this tangle. And Autumn will be very, very pleased to have escaped from this otherwise incredibly tricky situation. It's interesting, isn't it? Because in game number 1, right, Martin User spewed out his hand, attacked with all, and it was enough. And here, having that Ugin on time ultimately meant that Autumn was able to see their way clear to the next turn. However, the party ain't over yet. Double Bone Crusher Giant, and look at that cleave in hand. So Autumn certainly not out of the woods, although plenty of tools at their disposal.
Yeah, that cleave was just a little late. It's actually 100% of the time this happens, Riley. Whenever you just get your board wiped, you draw Embercleave. It's built into the program.
Unless you're an opponent of mine, in which case you just always have Embercleave every time.
Yes, I see. And I love this play here, saying, okay, you could just Ugin, kill one of the creatures, have Scorching Dragonfire to kill the other one if need be, but just saying Ugin is all I need to just wrap the board essentially twice, and then Gargaroth and Bone Crusher Giant are going to be able to run across the finish line here. I think that was an excellent play.
Yeah, and the Gargaroth is really going to prove its worth here as we see Brushfire Elemental off the top. An awkward draw for Martin because you can't go Brushfire attack equip.
Yeah. And even if you could, that's not going to be anywhere near
4 into a 6/6. So yeah, the Gargaroth really punching above its weight here. It's done such good work for Autumn so far.
Yeah, Elder Gargaroth against Gruul is just insane. Mono Green can deal with it a little bit better because you kind of have to play Primal Mites and stuff like that, so you can actually get good exchanges. But Gruul, you are incentivized to play a little bit more of the red removal. Because I would say it's widely better. Like Primal Mites and stuff, you can just get 2-for-1 a little too easily. They kill your creature in response to trying to fight stuff. That's just fighting versus killing stuff. Historically in Magic's history has been just way more risky, but usually has a higher ceiling. And what I mean by that, just like the spells are usually better or cheaper, kind of like Prey Upon. If you think about that card, 1 green to just kill anything, as long as you have a big creature is excellent. But if you get that creature killed in response, then it's a huge liability.
Interesting decision here for Autumn, attacking just with the Elder Gargaroth, leaving back the 4/3, and obviously considering. Look, Autumn's definitely in a very defensive position here, right? I think they realize that while they're ahead, that could be short-lived, especially in the face of other threats that Martin could be playing here. So we see Elder Gargaroth, rather than drawing a card, rather than making 3/3, just gaining life in order to stabilize as much as possible. End step Embercleave flashed in by Martin. That's not something you see too often here. And it's sort of, I think Autumn will be happy to see that. I think Autumn is actually looking at that and being like, right, that's a good sign. If that's the worst, if it's just, an Embercleave onto an empty board, I'm happy with that. And
there
Martin,
was one out for Juza there. You see Autumn kind of looking up to the sky. There was one thing that could have been in Juza's hand, and that's land Questing Beast. Questing Beast equipped, and then that's 10 damage. Autumn was at 8, so would have had to triple block just to stay alive, or I guess block with Gargaroth and gain a little bit of life. But that was really the only thing that could have been detrimental at that point.
So yeah, that was much better stuff there from Autumn, and I guess was it? I guess it was a conjunction of that plus the fact that Martin's deck really didn't have the enormous pressure that was needed to overcome the very powerful stuff that Autumn was doing. And credit to Autumn for navigating that matchup so expertly, right? With the decisions, with stuff like the Elder Gargaroth, the choosing how to manage their mana in the early turns and keeping up removal and what have you, weathering the storm very well indeed. But this is a good start here for Martin with the turn 1 Edgewall Innkeeper, turn 2 Brushfire Elemental. He will need the top of his deck to be kind to him here.
Looks like a mulligan.
Autumn is pretty well prepared with interaction plus a proactive ramp plan.
Yep, and I love the slowing down on turn 1 here. It's not like what land to play right away. Autumn probably knows which land to start with, but it's just sequencing, planning ahead multiple turns to make sure that you know which cards you could draw, what you have. How many green sources you could top deck, how many red sources. When you play a 3-color deck like this, you really got to be careful about how you sequence your land and sequence your ramp spells. So a tricky thing indeed.
So a pathway, and here's that Brushfire Elemental in for 2. So not the most aggressive start from the Gruul deck, but still decent enough. Glasspool Mimic up the top, another tap land here. But Autumn holding on to that Shatterskull Smashing rather than casting it, or playing it, I should say, on turn number 1 as a tapped land. So obviously they are valuing that in a situation where, as you can see, your opponent's got 2 X1s, right?
Yep, exactly.
A little bit of electrolyze.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
That was one of my favorite cards of all time. Oh, I love it. I love it.
So here's Lotus Cobra on turn 2, exactly when you want to cast it as a teamer player.
Yep. So playing the high risk, high reward play of Cobra before a removal spell. Just saying, man, if you don't have that removal spell, Juiza, Autumn's next turn is going to be insane.
Yeah, you're
with
going
this
to be
Fabled
big
Passage
trouble.
and stuff. Yeah. And as it stands, Juiza doesn't have it. It's going to be a nice turn for Autumn next turn.
Yeah, it looks like it, especially as there is that Shatterskull Smashing in the offing to get rid of both 1/1s in one fell swoop here.
Mm-hmm.
Martin will be able to attack. And, I mean, do you attack with the Aduline Keeper? Because both of you value those creatures on the back. Like, both of you value the creatures really highly. I guess for Martin here, the Edgewalling Keeper isn't as valuable in this situation.
Yeah. And especially, I like Autumn recognizing, like, no way I'm blocking, because if Innkeeper was a valuable card, aka if Juiza had an adventure creature, Juiza was going to cast that before combat to get value and then attack. So just expert play, recognizing that is just not a big deal for Juiza, and it isn't. So smart play. So
here we're going to see potentially a Beanstalk Giant with a Lotus Cobra out. And again, thanks to that Fabled Passage here, and the Lotus Cobra, that is enough.
And look at this nice sequencing here. Playing Fabled Passage to get that mana, but when you have 3 lands, it comes into play on tap. But getting that 4th one and then cracking Fabled Passage, oh yeah.
It's big brain stuff. Big brain stuff.
Now we can Smashing. Can we Smashing both here? 1, 2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice one.
Absolutely. Yeah. 4 mana, X equals 2. Shatterskull Smashing here. This is really good stuff here from Autumn.
Oh yeah.
Just considering which land, of course, it doesn't matter which land they get. They can still cast the Smashing this turn with the Cobra, but it may be relevant in future turns here. But this is such a blowout, man. This is disgusting. Oh, this is so gross. And User just sitting here just being farmed by Autumn Burchette in this game. Like, look at his face. He can't believe it. Like, that is such a beating here, losing both your creatures to 1 card and getting attacked for 2.
Yeah. And I mean, look at this next turn that would have happened for Juiza. Play a Pathway, make your Brush Elemental 3 power, attack with both, Embercleave that Elemental for 8-9 damage coming up. Instead, Juiza is saying, please draw a Questing Beast. Please draw a Questing Beast. Or Lovestruck Beast, that would be a good one as well. But if Juiza bricks next turn, I think, I don't want to write it off that quick, but it would be a tough game for Juiza to win.
Shatterskull Smashing the draw here for Martin. See what he goes for.
Yeah, not bad. A removal spell at least. It's a lot better than just being an untapped mountain like these double face cards. When you don't get to play them, you do just have to play land. So just another cool, innovative thing that Zendikar Rising has done for us.
So Glasspool Mimic, I think, coming down as Glasspool Shore, and nothing else here for Autumn. Oh, jeez. Martin just ripping land after land off the top. And the thing is, land after land is a fair bit better for Autumn than it is for Martin, because they're the one playing like Ugin.
And Genesis Ultimatum, which we haven't seen at all yet. I would say the best card in the deck, just hiding away.
Yeah.
It would be a nice time to draw it next turn, I must say, Mr. Riley Knight.
All right, here's a Robber of the Rich now. So let's see if we can get some goods off of the top of Autumn's library if this 2/2 comes out to play.
We know we have Scorching Dragonfire. I would be shocked to not see that, because even if, look at this sequencing from Autumn. Worst case, you can Scorching Dragonfire this, go into Beanstalk Giant, into Ugin. That's like your worst play, and both, that is just a great sequence against this Gruul deck. Hello, thank you, 7/7. Bang.
And so now the Beanstalk Giant comes down, and what is there? Like, this is the other great thing about playing Ugin in this deck with Beanstalk Giant, is that you can often just sweep the board of what your opponent's up to without affecting your own stuff. Like maybe your Cobra dies, maybe your Llanowar Visionary dies, but a lot of the time, your top end is sticking around. I think that's what we're going to see here. Look at this, and Ugin now, and a big deep breath for Martin User, who hates to see it. He does hate to see it. And now a crisp attack for 8 as well from Autumn. So this game firmly in their control.
And I think the big point of this game here, I think I would have been incentivized, or at least think about playing Shatter Skull Smashing as a land turn 1. Not doing that and playing a pathway just paid out so much for Autumn. Being able to have a nice clean 2-for-1 on turn 4 was just so impressive. And going to 7 wins out of 9 rounds, 7-2, that is insane. Autumn's probably in first or second next to Rio Saito in the MPL league. So super congrats to